Liz Rotherham. She has so much great energy around her, and we've been talking. We've talked quite a few times now. I've known each other in a little while, but the one exciting thing is that since I first met her, she set up this charity, Heads to Minds, and it's so exciting. Liz, I want to hand over to you and tell us all about it, because it's just amazing.
Thank you so much, Wendy, and it's great to see you, and ditto back to you. So I am extremely passionate. Yes, I run the charity, as Wendy said, Heads to Mind, and it's all about helping people with their mental health and well-being. So we offer coaching, mentoring, not just adults, children as well. We do mental health first aid training, adult and youth. We also do holistic therapies, because I know Wendy, it's not just myself. We have other therapists that are available on there. So Wendy's available on there. So we signpost people to the relevant therapists as well. So yeah, there's lots going on. We do events, we do public speaking, and basically we're just here to help people, give people hope and inspiration, and encourage people to get the right kind of support.
And I think that is so important. And it's really more relevant now, as we're seeing such an increase with people struggling with different problems, whether it's in their professional or their personal lives. I'm seeing a lot more people at the moment who are, they're really struggling. It's been a tough year, let's face it. And there's lots of issues that have gone on, and there's been nowhere to take it. And we need so many more resources, because there just aren't enough resources to go around. So what you're doing, Liz, I think is just amazing. And I know you're passionate about it, and I'm passionate about it for you as well, because I just think, we do need to get people. We need people to understand a bit more about mental health as well. We've got this, even in the time that since I first started, after I qualified, over 16 years ago, there were stigma attached to it at that point. And it's not as bad as it was, but it still is. It's too much. And it makes me so sad, because people aren't getting the help they need because of it. What do you think?
Yeah, totally agree with you, Wendy. And you know what? This last year has been extremely challenging for a lot of people. And I know that, mental health challenges has gone through the roof, actually. But regarding stigma, judgment, discrimination, you're right, it has got better. However, there's still a lot out there. So we need to educate people, because what happens is, as you said, people withdraw when they hear judgment or stigma, and they also don't get the right kind of help because of shame, embarrassment. So we need to all be really aware of that, and also the language we use as well. That's really important.
Tell us more about the language.
Yeah, because the language that, and it's really interesting, because we need to think before we speak. Now, I'm not just talking about people with mental health diagnoses. I'm not just saying that. I'm talking about in general life, because we need to ensure what we say to someone doesn't have a detrimental effect on what they're hearing or how they're perceiving it. Because even the slight comment about maybe someone's weight or maybe someone's appearance could have an adverse effect and could make them withdraw even further, and could potentially manifest something, further.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking what's in the news at the moment. People may or may not know of Nikki Graham. She was in the Big Brother series. Quite a bubbly, slightly eccentric girl, I felt, but delightful. But she really struggled, and with her, she had anorexia, didn't she? And sadly, she recently died. And we don't know what's going on for people, because somebody who's in the public eye, they're going to have an awful lot of trolls following them, people making really unpleasant comments. That's on the really that's on the extreme side, and we're getting that constantly on social media. Keyboard warriors, who think that they can just slag anyone off and call them names. But even the comments you say that are misguided, you know, oh, have you got away? Oh, you're not going to fit into that dress. You know, how are you going to feel? Yeah, all of that. But I don't know. They're just those comments that people will make, and they don't realise it. And I think the kind of really difficult age where the people aren't picking up on is adolescence. So up until the age of late 20s, early 30s, the brain is still growing. And that part of the brain that hasn't grown is the bit that isn't the reasoning part, I'm going to say intelligent part, but there is something very, it doesn't figure things, you know, it helps you figure things out and be more reasonable. And does a lot of other stuff as well. But young people will take things on board so much readily at that age because they are in a really transitional stage. And those are the ones that I see a lot, those young people that feel they've got low self-esteem, they feel so bad about themselves. And as you say, it could be just a giveaway line. It could be, well, you're not wearing that, are you? Or any kind of comment like that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, Wendy. And, you know, as you said, you know, the age of, I mean, we mentor 11, there's a few people who 11, 13, 15, you know, a combination of the age, and a lot of it's about self-esteem, confidence, and the words that are used, how it makes them feel and things like that has an effect. You know, like you said, social media, what people see, and you've got to think about the person, and just like what you're saying is, would you like to hear that? So, you know, maybe reflect it back to you like a mirror. How would you feel if someone said that to you? You know, and it's very much so like that. We need to be aware, because language does matter. You know, it really, really does. And what we say to people, like you said about Nikki, I mean, that's just horrendous what's happened. Poor lady. But also another celebrity that pops into my head is Freddie Flintoff. I watched his, you know, the other day, and it was the media that commented on his weight, and it actually led him to be have bulimia. And
Wow.
you know, in secret for years because he didn't want to be judged about it. And he did a show recently, or you know, he talked about it. It was fascinating, Wendy, but it was that, you know, comment that made him and led him towards that, you know, which is just devastating.
Yeah. Yeah. And then leading on to that, the language that we use, there is also that judgment that comes from that then. And I think you had an example of what happened. I don't know if you want to share it, because we were talking earlier.
Yes, what about in the petrol station?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just an example. I mean, bearing in mind, you know, it's taken me years to speak out about what I've been through. And it's because of the stigma and judgment that I got that I didn't talk out. But now I feel, you know, I've got a good support network, so it's allowed me to be able to feel comfortable to share. But this happened about 8 years ago, and you know, I was in the petrol station, and I went to pay, and I saw one of my, you know, my friends, and I turned around and I went, "Oh, hi, you know, how you doing?" La la la. Anyway, I saw her about a year ago, and she said, "Liz, I've got to tell you something. I'm so sorry." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, what?" She said, I've got a confession to make." She said, "You know, I saw you 8 years in the petrol station. Well, I was feeling a little bit, you know, a bit down, a bit demotivated, a bit overweight, and I saw you, and you had a lovely car. You looked amazing." And I thought to myself, "Oh, look at her. Oh, she's obviously, you know, got a great life. She's got a great car. She's full of, you know." And anyway, you turned round in the petrol station, and I was mortified. One, that I knew you, but then you turn around and said that you just come out being discharged from a mental hospital because you just had a psychotic episode and you were trying to rebuild your life. And she said, I was absolutely devastated because you told me that, and I got this perception that everything was perfect in your life. And it just shows you. And she was mortified because she felt like that. But I was so pleased. I mean, I would never judge her. And she said, I said, you know, thank you so much for sharing, because it just shows you that she was able to share it with me. But how many people think that, but they don't know what's going on in someone's life?
Exactly. And I think, yeah, they do. They judge us. They say, oh, you've got this, you've got that, or where you live, the car you've got, the kind of lifestyle that you may have. But that, I often refer to that as the shop window. You know, the shopkeeper they'll parade all of their best wares because they want to entice you in. Whereas actually, when we have that shop window, we don't want to let anyone in because people are too ashamed of what's going on behind it. And I think the other thing is, I mean, it's not just language, but it is about judgment. When people talk about when someone is struggling with depression or they're stressed, it's so common to hear people retort, oh, just pull yourself together. Oh, just get on with it. What's your problem? Stop making a fuss. And then that leads to, people that come to me and they say, oh, I'm okay, really. And then you actually delve a bit more. No, they're not okay. But I don't want to bother you. There are people worse off than me. All of that. And there are people that just don't even seek the help because of the shame that's attached to it, isn't there?
No, I totally agree with you, Wendy. And, there's a lack of education with other people when they say comments like that, pull your socks up. I mean, I remember, people when I was younger, man up and, stop crying and things like that. It's emotions. We should be allowed to cry. We should be able to show our feelings. It's perfectly normal. But you're totally right. It's that kind of ethos that we need to change, because we want people to reach out for help. Because the statistics, Wendy, I mean, I don't know whether you follow them or you've heard, but suicide and self-harm, it's increased, and it's frightening. And we need to, the line of work we're in is here to help people and support people, and we want to, we show empathy, we are compassionate, and we want to help people and share so a crisis doesn't happen, because it's just awful for all those that concerned and the person themselves.
Yeah. And going back to language, I was just thinking while we were talking, it can be with the best will in the world. For example, I had a client who said, I was trying to encourage my daughter to go to uni. I got my degree when I was 40. And I said, look, I've done it. Look what you can do. But that daughter was struggling because they felt it wasn't an encouragement. It was the pressure. Now you expect that of me. And what if I fail? Because you did it when you were 40. And what if I can't do it because I'm not academic, or I just don't want to? Or and I think that's the other side of it, that parents do it with the best will in the world. They're not, I would say parents do the best they can with the tools they have. But even that kind of encouragement side can be so damning.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you, Wendy. And what we need to remember is that everyone is unique. We are all unique in our own little world, and what we like and what our beliefs and things like that are all different. And it's, you're right, it's the pressure, the peer pressure, you know, different things that are put on us where we feel that we have to achieve. I mean, I've never been married and I'm 50. Okay. I don't have children. I have dogs, right? I chose to do this, but society, it's like, right, we must grow up, we must get married, we must do this, we must do this. It's like a control thing. Well, I've gone totally off the Richter scale and completely different. I proposed to my other half. It's not the norm, you know, but who cares? I'm unique. I'm proud to be myself. It's taken me years, Wendy. And now that I am, I actually feel so comfortable in my own skin. And my nickname's Tigger, because I do have a lot of energy, but I'm not apologizing it for it anymore. You know,
Good.
I am unique and we are all unique and we need to champion that. You know, you're unique in your own world and things like that. And we need to be able to do that and encourage people to speak their truth, you know, be okay, but not be judgmental, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree, because that's it. That is the pressure that I put on people, and then that sense of failure, and then that can lead to self-harm then, because they it's a lack of self-esteem, and they don't feel that they have the right to even have a place on this planet, and it goes on and on and on, and then that leads to self-harm, and in some cases then it is people take their lives because the pain, whether it's emotional or physical, is so great that they feel that not only would they be better not being here, but so would their family and friends. And that's so sad.
It is so sad.
So I think we need to get this word out and get people understanding a bit more about mental health. It doesn't mean that you are insane. It's not that. You know, we've still got this horrible stigma around, don't we, about mental health hospitals, where they're not particularly pleasant places. They're not all bright and cheerful. They're pretty. The one that I visited was pretty plain. There wasn't a lot around, you know, the decorations. But then there are some people that will, you know, it's almost for their own safety. And but trying to get people to understand that, because obviously things that, you know, a vase of flowers, if somebody was feeling really down, then they may actually get that glass or piece of ceramic or something, break it and then harm themselves. So there's an awful lot that can't be in there for their own safety, although it does make them pretty bleak if you go into them. But they're not asylums, they're not being people incarcerated. They're places where people can be taken care of and maybe help with their medication or their well-being and the support they need, so that they can come out and you know, live in a better way that's more comfortable for them. But we have that stigma. Mental asylum, it's horrible, and it's still going on, isn't it? And then the words that are used, the loony bin, or you're bonkers, you're round the bend. It's all those words that people use jokingly, but then how does that feel for the person who's struggling?
I must admit, Wendy, you know, the word, I think it's the word mental. It's the word mental has got the stigma that's attached to it. Because when I do my training, I say everyone has got mental health. And people sometimes look at me and go, what? And I go, yes, we do, because we all have minds. So if you take mental out of the equation and say mind health, what's the problem? Because we all have feelings, behaviors, and that's what it is. It's the word mental, because it stems back from years ago when people were saying crazy, you know, and all those kinds of words, and it's stuck with it. So if we changed it and called it mind health, everyone would go, oh yeah, like that, or mind hospitals. You wouldn't have the stigma.
Exactly. It is changing the words, isn't it? I think you use mind health. I call it emotional health.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, it just, but we can't, you know, our brain is that powerhouse. That's the place that drives so much. So why would we, you know, if there's something in the powerhouse that isn't working, if it was a physical thing, you know, I can't think of something that would work. You know, you have, like, you know, our lungs are the bellows, our heart is the pump, but the brain is the powerhouse. And we need to remember that, because that drives everything. It makes it, we couldn't function without a brain, because so much is driven from there. The way we walk, the way we speak, everything is in that little powerhouse. It stems from there. And people just forget that.
I know, Wendy. And you know what, you talking about that, I say to people when I do training, I say to them, if you went over on your ankle, or if you sprained your ankle, would you carry on walking, or would you actually address it and go and do something about it, or rest it? And they go, oh yeah, I'd probably rest it. Well, why don't you do the same for your mind and your emotional and because you're exactly right. This is the power. This is the, what's the word? Like the I can't think of the right word, but it's what connects us, makes us, and they say that if you get the mind right, you could actually, it works with the physical body. You could cure and help heal the body as well. And I'm a firm believer of that.
Definitely. And the number of times I've seen over the past 16 years and so that people who've got some kind of physical illness or disability, or there's something physical going on for them, that generally you can trace it back to a trauma, and therefore it manifests itself. Even when when you could take something very simple like eczema. When people get really stressed, eczema will get worse. Now people will accept that more readily than they will a lot of other situations. But that it's no different. It just manifests itself. And if we don't recognize and don't listen to our body, this body's going to go, right, I'm going to show you, I'm going to malfunction somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm totally with you 100% there, Wendy.
Yeah, I've seen it so many times. And then, I mean, there are more kind of, I'm going to say more, I would say famous, but more, that more in the public eye, people who are talking about it, the scientists and neuroscientists and psychologists stuff. And it is, you can't, we've got the spinal cord connecting us. How can you separate it? God.
I know. We need to look after our mind and find things, that make us happy, or we enjoy, coping mechanisms if we do, because life is full of challenges, and it's how you cope with them, how you address them. I'm very much a believer in, stop living in the past, clear away. I know you do therapy and you do counseling and things like that, and you work with, I really, really, truly believe that, because if you address it, deal with it, then you can remain in the present. I teach mindfulness, meditation. A lot of people say, oh, I can't do it. Well, I say, well, you learnt to drive, or potentially you learnt to ride a bike when you were younger. It takes practice. And the more we do train our brain, the better it will become, And I love, there's a guy, I don't know if you've heard of this guy, he's just written a book, Jay Shetty. Oh my goodness. Oh, he's written a book, and it's just incredible. It's incredible, but it's all about the mind. He's brilliant. So
yeah, and I'm an advocate of mindfulness, staying in the present and just being. And I often with clients who are anxious, I practice mindful breathing with them.
Yeah,
and it can just take a couple of minutes, really, but it's an amazing tool for
and
so many different ways.
Amazing, but so simple.
Yes. Yes. And people, oh no, I don't believe any of it. I don't actually tell them it's mindful breathing. I just say, I'm going to get you to do this. And I really notice what's going on. Notice your breath. And I tell them afterwards, that's some of mindful breathing. Oh, I have no idea. I also use hypnotherapy, because I'm a trained hypnotherapist as well. And I take them a visualization. I mean, that's another brilliant tool. So when I do, I kind of do, the mindful breathing that gets them settled. A body scan gets them to acknowledge where they're holding any tension and release it, and relax. And then I take them on a visualization journey. And after about 20 minutes or so, they say, wow, that was amazing. How are you feeling? I said, I don't want to come back now. I'm really enjoying myself wherever I am. It's like, yeah, you just did a bit of hypnotherapy visualization. Really? You just don't. And yeah, it can help you get to sleep. It can help you. Like the one place I really use visualization is in the dentist chair. And I visualize myself somewhere else completely. I'm never in that chair. I close my eyes and I drift off somewhere. Or I remember several years ago, I had to have some a skin cancer removed from my face, and I could only have local anaesthetic, that's all I wanted. I didn't want to have general anaesthetic anyway, because I think it's, yeah, anyway. And I was just sitting there, and the doctors and the nurses were talking around me. They said, "You're so relaxed." I said, "Yeah, because I'm not here. I'm lying on a beach in Thailand." I said, "Gosh, you are so. We're not used to having patients so relaxed." I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." And I really was. I didn't get stressed or anxious, or I've had MRI scans and all kinds of things like that. And again, they are such great techniques. And yet you can do it if you're feeling anxious or stressed or feeling down. You can use so many of these techniques, can't you? And I know you teach it. You're teaching mindfulness, and I'm sure there are others that you teach as well.
Yeah, well, I'm studying for hypnotherapy at the moment, Wendy. Oh my goodness, it's mind blowing. I absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it, with the subconscious and how powerful it is. Oh my good, I thought I knew a lot about the mind, but this is just taking me on another level.
Yeah, it's quite incredible, as you say. It really is. Wow, so we've talked a lot, haven't we? We've talked about language we use. We talked about judgment, not judging people because we don't know what's behind that shop window. We talked about language. Yeah, we said language, judgment, and the shame and that results in it, and how people then don't get the help and support they need. So we've covered quite a lot today. And I just think that your charity is great, helping people who are struggling with all of that and getting people to understand. You also run courses, you teach people about mental health. And I think this is great because we've got to take this stigma away. It's so damaging. So, yeah. So one thing that you could suggest people take away with them today, what could they put into action right now, or just implant in their heads?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. Is listen, active listen. We were given 2 ears for a reason. So when you're having a conversation with someone, just listen. Don't try and interrupt or then talk about what you're going to talk about, because potentially you could spot a sign or a change of behavior that could actually help that person. And remember that everyone is unique, and please do not judge people, because it stops people from getting the right kind of help potentially.
Yeah, I think the listening is really good, and don't try and fix them. They don't want to be fixed unless they ask for you to help them fix.
Yes,
they just want to talk. Immediately people go, "Oh, well, this is what you should." No. They don't want it. They just want to be able to talk and be curious. Ask them more about it. Tell me more. What does your depression mean for you? What's anxiety like for you? How do you feel? Where does it affect you in your life? Does it stop you sleeping? Does your mind race, or do you just get brain fog? It is listen. You're right. Be curious. Oh, Liz, I'd have to talk to you for ages, and I really enjoyed chatting with you anyway. But yeah, I'm going to put your details in the show notes, especially this charity, because I think this is great that you set up. But everything in there will be in the show notes. But one easy way that people can get in touch with you, I think I know what it is.
Oh, do you? Tell me. I'm trying to think.
Heads to Mind.
Yes. the best way to do it is if you go on the internet, www.heads2minds.co.uk. We are on Facebook as well, Instagram and Twitter. But yeah, there's emails that when you go online, you can reach out to me.